From each of your perspectives, what is critical to making an e-commerce operation scalable? Rachel, from your perspective, how do you get more traffic? Bob and Nathan, how do you understand and convert more of that traffic? And Eric, how do you be prepared for those spikes in traffic and that unexpected demand?
Great. As far as getting more traffic, I think on the SEO side, that's kind of where we want to start. Every project for us starts with keyword research. We want to make sure that your site comes up for the keywords that actually matter, that people are searching for, that they have the potential to convert on. That could be any number of things. Let's say we're talking about like an audio-visual site. If you say sell stereo equipment, stereo might be a really good keyword, but also might look at Panasonic stereo. Might want to get even more in depth than that and actually look at the actual product number or model number. So rather than Panasonic stereo, we could say Pan SX410S. If someone's looking for that kind of term, they're really deep into the funnel. They're closer to converting. They know that that's the product that they want. So we want to make sure that we help sites show up for terms like that where they're really, really relevant. We also want to look at qualifying keywords. So this can be anything you can add to your regular term. A big one for us that we've seen is 2012, like looking at the year. Someone's looking for a product that's current. Looking at accredited, certified, free shipping can be a huge one. And these are terms that can all drive more traffic to the site. Once you're already ranked for a term, or you're ranked on the first page especially, you can use your meta descriptions to actually differentiate yourself from competitors. So use these keywords there too. Say, we offer free shipping, or we have the best prices, or different things like that. So look to use that as more of a marketing speak, because your meta description won't help you rank well. The last one I have for this is really looking, if it's an e-commerce site, you're selling a product, you want to find services like Google Shopping, Google Products, that you can submit your feed to. Make sure your products are all there, that you keep them updated, so you don't have things there that aren't in stock anymore. And then also look at what your competitors are putting up on those sites, so you can find out how you're different from your competitors. Make sure you come up properly and that you're really showing how you're different or better than competitors for the same product.
Great, so you're making your products available so people can find them through search in as many ways as possible. That's great.
So from the metrics and analytics perspective, I think some of the challenges that come with scaling have a lot to do with decisions that get made very, very early on in the life cycle of the business. So a lot of times the key metrics which, and I'll echo the first panel a little bit, in that the key metrics that people are looking at, they center around customer lifetime value, they center around customer loyalty analysis, not just what is the transaction that someone makes when they arrive at the site the very first time, but what's the likelihood that they will come back, what are the value of those repeat purchases, and ultimately how valuable is this customer to your business in the long term, kind of in an overall holistic sense. If you think about the data that is required and that needs to be collected in order to have that complete picture, you'd be very, very surprised by how many times we work with companies that have achieved some level of scale, that are doing tens of millions of dollars in annual sales in e-commerce or more, and in their early days or even in the current days are not collecting all of the correct data to make sure that they can tie purchases consistently between different customers throughout time, or not accurately recording things like referral source or information on the behavioral or kind of the funnel that this person went through when they made that first purchase. If you look out into the future and you want to be able to conduct these analyses to make very smart decisions in your marketing department in terms of where you should be allocating dollars to acquire high-value lifetime customers, you sometimes need to look back at cohorts that existed when you were a $1 million company or a $0 company to get insights into specifically what happens over the long-term life cycle of these customers. So I think that really, thinking about scaling and thinking about being able to make smart decisions when you've got that $10 million marketing budget, in a lot of cases can boil down to making very, very smart decisions when you have no marketing budget. And those decisions are just around data collection and capture and recording. And I think that the cost, and I'm sure we'll hear from hosting.com on kind of how things have evolved in the past decade or so around the cost of actually keeping information and being sure that you're not overwriting records, you're not deleting log files. I mean, it is extremely inexpensive to hold on to any amount of information that you happen to be capturing. And if you're doing it in a systematic way, even if you're not acting on that information immediately, if you can, over the long term, accumulate those details, later on you're in a much better position to go back and make strategic decisions that are smarter and more informed as a result of having that data. So that's mainly kind of what we try and emphasize as much as possible when talking with companies at all stages, because it continues to be relevant anytime that you look forward any period of time.
All right, you guys can fight over it if you want.
So, great setup there, because looking specifically at the on-site conversion and how you're going to capitalize on this traffic that Rachel just gave a great walkthrough of how you're going to get, Robert having exactly the details you may know about these customers, we're focusing on what can you do to that site experience to actually take that handshake of information that you have about the consumer and make the site experience for that session much, much more relevant. A great way to kind of contextualize the typical effort that's within an organization. It's in a dollars and cents mode, but you can also relate this directly back to resources, kind of dedication. eConsultancy had a report out last year that basically there's a 92-to-1 ratio of acquisition spend out there beyond your site walls to what you're actually putting in effort once that traffic has hit your site. So really focusing that same level of dedication and effort that you're doing to come up with the right keywords, come up with the right information that you're knowing about a customer, and then using that to leverage the site itself to have a better experience that's going to give them more information about that keyword that you know they're coming in on. A great way to kind of think of that is what is just at a high level the marketing channels that that customer is coming in on, that you're putting that spend out. That's a great way that's already imparted you with a ton of knowledge about their intent, what their behavior might be, and therefore using either your platform or some SaaS tools, being able to go in and modify the site experience to reinforce what they're doing, make it easier, make it more contextual. So that's really our focus, and where we think there's a lot of opportunity is take that diligence that you're already performing in your offline marketing programs and bring that to how do you make the site live up to that same level of standards that you're doing in your external marketing programs.
That's great.
Thanks. So I think that from what I've been able to see with hundreds of e-commerce shops that have shown up on our doorstep, is generally, as you mentioned, the beginning is very important, but certainly you can't get caught with analysis paralysis, and you have to basically set up a structure from an infrastructure allows you to grow, allows you to be up and highly available, especially if you're starting out and you have a skeleton crew. You don't want to be running around trying to hammer down fires or put out fires that have occurred because your one single server for this element of your application is down. So you want to basically find a way that you can bake in some highly available nature in your infrastructure. But to your point about storage and data storage, certainly you don't need to focus everything in one service provider. You can certainly offload some of your, low value, less immediate kind of archival data to third parties like S3 or at hosting.com. We have a network attached storage solution which is very inexpensive. The key is make sure that you're keeping your cost and your spend in line with the value of the data. And then put your money on the infrastructure side towards high value assets that are able to process more workload. But as a final point, I would say that you can grow incrementally. You don't need to put in a super large infrastructure up front. And that's really very much changed than where we were maybe like 5 or even 10 years ago, where you did have to purchase everything up front, run it all yourself, and you were sort of like using capital expenditures that could be better used on funding your personnel, your living expenses, where you're getting everything off the ground.